Ok, muy bien. Muy buenas tardes, good afternoon. Mi nombre es Eva, my name is Eva, y voy a ser una de las intérpretes para hoy, and I will be one of the interpreters today. We want to, first of all, thank the organizers for including us in the language justice framework that allows everyone to be present and participate in the language that they are most comfortable with. Primero que nada, queremos agradecerle a los organizadores por hacer este espacio accesible a diferentes idiomas para que la gente pueda venir en el idioma y participar en el idioma donde sean más cómodos. We're going to go over just a few quick things around how to access interpretation. So vamos a dar un par de puntos en cómo acceder al servicio de interpretación cuando esté prendido. So once the mod for interpretation is turned on, you are going to see a little globe at the bottom of your screen if you are using a computer or a laptop. So cuando prendan el módulo de interpretación, si usted está en su computadora o una computadora portátil, va a haber un icono de un signo de globo donde puede usted seleccionar su interpretación. Si usted está en su teléfono, va a haber un icono de 3 puntos donde tiene que hacer clic, después seleccionar el idioma, la interpretación y después el idioma que sea más preferido. If you are on your smartphone, you will see a 3-dot icon in which you have to click, then select language interpretation, and then select the language that you are most comfortable with. Tiene 2 opciones para oír el audio. Puede oír a la interpretación y en voz bajita va a oír las personas hablando en inglés. So there are 2 different modes that you can work with interpretation. One is that you can hear the interpreter, and then at a lower voice, you will be able to hear the actual language. Usted no necesita de cambiar de idioma. En cuanto usted elija el idioma donde usted esté más cómodo, manténgase ahí y el intérprete va a ser el que va a cambiar de canal. Once you select your language, you do not have to move from different languages. Just select the language that you are most comfortable with and the interpreters will switch channels. Si usted tiene algún problema con acceder a la interpretación, por favor, mándenos un chat. If you have any issues accessing the interpretation mod, please drop us a chat and we will try our best to help you. Y eso es todo, and that's all. Muchísimas gracias to the team. Gracias al equipo y check.
Awesome. Okay, thank you very much. So now I will say a few more words of welcome now that we can move on. And my name is Leone Jose Bicchieri. I'm the Executive Director of Working Family Solidarity. We're very glad to have you with us. Again, you just heard how to be on a particular channel. Yo creo que acaban de darse cuenta de cómo deben de escuchar el canal de español. So I'm going to speak in English. I'm not going to do everything in Spanish and English, but hopefully with the simultaneous interpretation, everyone will be good. We're glad you made it. We appreciate you being here. We at Working Family Solidarity unite low-income working families, especially of different races and ethnicities, to fight together for equitable development. And to do that, we focus primarily on jobs and housing. And on the west, southwest, and south sides of Chicago, our membership is 90–95% African-American and Latinx people, and almost all reasonably low-income working families. So we're fighting against gentrification. We're fighting for jobs, but also the housing stability that will keep African-American and Latinx people in Chicago and not have us pushed out. So we're glad you're with us. Again, the topic today, this evening, is an update from about our last one 5 months ago. So rental and mortgage assistance, but also we're going to hear from someone about how the eviction courts are functioning now that we're not back to normal, but some of the courts now are not just doing Zoom, and they're just functioning a little more often even when they are in Zoom. So we're glad you're here. We're glad you're with us. We have a great panel, and we're going to have the panelists talk for a little bit of time each. We'll see how much, but altogether we'll probably take about 45 or 50 minutes. And We are not going to have any questions. You can put comments and questions in the chat anytime you want, but what we'll do is we will hold until after all the panel presenters have said a few words, and that's going to take us till a little before 7. And then we'll have as much time as possible, at least 25 minutes, maybe 30, to have questions and comments in the chat that then I can farm out as moderator to the different panelists, okay? So we are going to start with Foluke Akanni, and she's housing organizer with Housing Action Illinois. That's one of our partners, and we're really proud to work with them on all kinds of things. And Foluke is going to talk about some of the current rental and mortgage assistance available, and she might add an update on a couple of other housing rights campaigns. So Foluke, thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you so much, Leone, for inviting me and to the group to talk more about like rental assistance that's available, and also about mortgage assistance. I'm gonna share my screen because I made a presentation. So let me know if everybody can see the screen. Hopefully.
Yes.
Okay, sweet.
Yes.
Thank you. So like Leone was saying, my name is Foluke Akanni. I'm with the Housing Action Illinois. I'm the housing policy organizer. And I wanted to kind of give a brief overview of who we are as Housing Action Illinois, and then kind of go towards talking about the rental and then mortgage assistance. So Housing Action Illinois is a statewide coalition. We have about 160 members in the state, and we're a coalition that is formed to protect and expand accessible and affordable quality housing all over the state. We do this through policy and also organizing educational workshops. And towards the end, I'm going to talk about some of the policies that we're working on. And we also do a lot of capacity building within our teams. Like Leone mentioned, we are also partnering with Working Family Solidarity, and along with Illinois chapter of American Academies of Pediatricians, and also in the network of Center of Independent Living and Refugee Action Network, to do something called OPV Starts at Home campaign that basically intersects different types of issues with housing. So going towards what is available for rental assistance. So as you all know that there have been different types of funding through the CARES Act and also the American Rescue Plan Act that made accessible emergency rental assistance. But most of the funds are now dwindling down, or some programs are also closing as well. But I wanted to kind of address some of the programs that are open, and then also some things that you can do to actively and proactively go about when it comes to rent and evictions. The Department of Family and Supportive Services. So if you live in the city of Chicago, the Department of Family Services has a rental assistance program, and this is through the Emergency Solutions Grant through ODD. And DFSS is partnering with community service centers to administer the rental assistance program. So I'll put also the link on the chat. They're partnering with, I think, 6 or 7 community agencies throughout the city of Chicago, where you can go into those agencies or call those agencies and apply for rental assistance. This is open to all Chicago residents regardless of immigration status. And you just have to be at risk of being homeless, or you might have some kind of loss of income or other emergencies to qualify as well. You also have to identify as a low-income household to qualify. So I think it's they look at the area medium income to see if you qualify as if you're eligible for those rental assistance. What do you need to apply? So you need eviction notice or some sort of proof of loss of income. Oh, sorry. You need some kind of eviction notice, some sort of loss of income, or proof of other things that say that you have an emergency or you've lost your income within whatever time frame, I think within a year or so. They're also looking for pay stubs, benefit statements, and affidavit to kind of explain that you have no income right now. You're also looking at driver's license, state ID, city key, or other kind of lease or landlord agreement forms. You can apply through this link, through the Chicago portal link, and I also put in the chat when I'm done on the link as well. And then for more information, we also have a link that kind of describes more information and details about that DFSS program for rental assistance. So this is only specific to the city of Chicago, but then we also have a statewide rental assistance that's still available through DHS, which is the Illinois Rental Assistance Program. This is the only state program that's available. IDA's program closed, I think, in January. So this is the only state program that's available. And you can still apply through the IllinoisRentalAssistance.org website. And it this program connects you to service providers who can help you apply for the state emergency rental assistance. I think they have a list of providers that I can also put on the chat all around the state. So they have providers in the city of Chicago and also in Cook County that folks can reach out to apply. And then I think they have a few faith-based groups that also are able to help folks and assist them in applying for those rental assistance. Folks who are eligible for this rental assistance are folks who have experienced financial hardship directly or indirectly due to the pandemic. Also, folks who are behind on rent, who have risks of experiencing homelessness or housing instability. And then you must also meet some of the household income requirements. And I'll put that link also on the table as well. And then for more information, I'll put that link there. But it's the same kind of DHS program that's been available throughout, and it's still available until funds run out. Some of the eviction resources I'm going to talk about, and I'm sure our friends from Lawyers Better Housing Committee are going to talk about this, as well as the Cook County Legal Aid also has a program where you can talk. Their legal aid has a county-wide program where you can talk to lawyers and folks about eviction or foreclosures, any kind of issues, and they can help you navigate those issues as well. The state has, and it's free for free legal aid services and mediation services through the Eviction Help Illinois.org program. And also, again, I'm sure Lawyers for Community for Better Housing is going to talk about their renteviction.com program as well, where folks can also get help through advocating for evictions. Again, like I said, some of the funds are kind of running out of funds, but there are still programs through, again, the city of Chicago and that statewide program, and then some counties around the state also have some programs available. There is still court-based program available through Illinois Department of Housing Services, IDHS, and also Cook County as programs that are available through the court-based rental assistance programs. Last but not least, I'm going to talk about the statewide emergency mortgage assistance program. So the Illinois Housing Development Authority, IDA, is now accepting applications. So the application will open Monday, April 11th, and will close May 31st for their mortgage assistance program, which is the Illinois Homeowners Assistance Fund. This program is available to homeowners who have struggled to pay with their mortgage due to COVID. So it also helps eligible homeowners to receive about $30,000 to eliminate past due mortgage and also property taxes. Housing Action Illinois is also partnering with IDA to do a webinar on the Wednesday, April 20th, to talk about how to apply. But also IDA has a list of informational sessions that they'll be doing throughout, partnering with different community partners in English and in Spanish for those who want to learn about how to apply for the program. I have a quick thing about just folks being proactive. They have a list of documents that they're requiring for folks who do need the mortgage assistance program and mortgage assistance funds. And I'm going to put that list also in the chat, just for folks to gather all this information so that they can go through that process quickly. Because I know that with some of the rental assistance program is being slow. So if you're able to kind of get those documents quickly and kind of go through that process, hopefully the funds will be, they'll be processed quickly for those who need it. And also there's a list of OD certified housing counselor agencies that you can talk to about your options when it comes to, if you deal with any kind of home ownership, financial hardship or mortgage issues, you can definitely reach out to those OD certified housing counselors who are also partnered with IDA on this program as well. Last but not least, we're going to talk about source of income. So we had some good news today, but for folks who don't know what the source of income is, it's a statewide fair housing protection bill that protects households who use non-wage income. So the non-wage income includes like housing choice vouchers, folks who use voucher, veterans who use veterans vouchers, or any kind of social security income, or any kind of, I guess, public benefits or rental subsidies to pay for their rent. This legislation will create protections, making it illegal for landlords to refuse to rent to individuals or families solely based on what we call a source of income, so non-wage income. This bill, HB 2775, was assigned to the Senate committee for hearing today, actually, and it passed the Senate committee, and we're waiting for it to pass. We're waiting for it to be called to the floor for a vote. So if folks can just show support by either filling a witness slip as a proponent of the bill, or even contacting your legislature through our action alert, which I'll also put on the chat, that basically says that you support the bill and send it to your local legislatures around the state. This talks about just some tips in how to fill out that witness slip. Basically, you want to make sure that if you want to label yourself as a self or represent yourself as well, you can just put your, you don't have to put your organization under the organization tab. You just have to put representation or self. And then you just want to make sure that you click on the proponent side of the witness slip. And then you want to also select record of appearance also for that, filling out that witness slip. You can find more about the source of income campaign on the Leone Coalition for Fair Housing website, which I'll also put a link on the chat as well. Thank you, Leone, for having me, and I'll wait until the end for questions that folks might have.
That's terrific, Foluke. Well, one thing that I just wanted to highlight before we move on to the next panelist is, and maybe we want to come back to it, or maybe you can put it in the chat as you mentioned, but I do want to make sure, because sometimes when you're attending, if you're kind of listening and other things are going on and your attention's diverted just for 5 seconds, right, or something, then you listen again. But the last part of the assistance that Foluke was talking about, if I understood it correctly, this is what I've been hearing about and I was listening to you and reading it, I understood in April, and it's not April yet, right? So I think what Foluke was trying to do is say, get ready, because, and this is very important. That's one of the reasons we wanted to do this webinar, and we'll come back to this later after the panelists are done and we can maybe answer more questions and details, but please make a note of that. So that's, I think what Foluke was trying to do is like, yo, this is what you need to get ready. These are the kind of things you'll need, because a lot of people, even though they applied reasonably quickly to get rental assistance in recent months, they were too late because of the huge crush of thousands of people trying to get rental assistance, right? So a lot of people are hearing about what is going to come in again in April. So, try to be ready. And I think what I heard, Foluke, is you'll put maybe some information here. And then also what we can do, I will try to do it tomorrow. If for some reason we don't, at the very latest Friday, but we'll really try tomorrow because that's the last day of March, but to get some of that information, maybe not everything, but some of the highlights of each presentation, maybe 2 or 3 key websites and things in an email, and send it to the people who attended. But please look in the chat for anything that you can take away today, right? So thanks a lot. Please.
Sorry, I just wanted to just include that because of the mortgage assistance is like, you need a lot of documentation, sadly, for the application process. So it's just good to just be proactive to gather some of the, like looking for your taxes and stuff like that. You might not have it in hand. So it's just good to just be proactive and look for those documents. So thanks for Leone for just highlighting that. Oh, I think you're on mute. Hey, Leone, I think you're on mute.
I'm so sorry. There are some technical differences. Chris, did I get you? Did I get you on as an interpreter? I hope I did. I think I did. Okay, we'll move on. We're trying to get our second interpreter on, and we've had a few technical issues, a little bit wacky today. So thanks for hanging in there. I see a couple of questions stuff, and we'll come back to those questions as soon as we finish the various panelists giving giving their points of view and the kind of information they want to share, and then we'll start with those questions. Okay, so I've got them in front of me, and I'll go through them all. Okay, so give me a minute. Looks like Foluke is putting some things in the chat. Please get as much as you can from the chat today. And again, we'll do everything we can to get an email out with at least some of this information to everyone as soon as we can. So thank you very much, Foluke. I do, speaking of interpreters, I said thank you to the interpreters, but we work together so much, I forgot to say who they are. So one is Eva Cardenas, the other is Chris Zaragoza, and they work with an interpretation collective called Somos Sur. We are the South, okay? And so we want to thank them, and we'll be thanking them again later. They've been working with us for a while, and they do great work. Now we are going to go to Antoinette Bolz of the Lawyers Committee for Better Housing, who will talk to us about kind of what she's seen, what they are seeing, she's seen in the eviction courts, and she's part of the Chicago COVID, eviction prevention program at the Lawyers Committee for Better Housing. So please take it away.
Thank you, Leone. So my name is Antoinette Bolz, and I'll just get right into it because I have a lot to go over and time is limited. All right, so in order to commence an eviction, your landlord needs to first serve you a notice in writing. There are 3 types of notices that they could serve you. One is a 5-day notice for non-payment of rent. One is for an alleged violation of the lease and or the terms of tenancy. And another is just because they want to. So I'll go over each of these a bit more. All right, so the first type of notice that you might get is for non-payment of rent. This basically means that you haven't paid rent and the landlord is saying you have to pay rent. They are required to give you a minimum of 5 days. They could give you more, but most don't. They usually give you about 5 days. And there's a couple of ways you can get around this. First, if you have the money, you can pay it. They're allowed to reject partial payment. So it's very typical where people say, oh, I tried to pay, I owe him $3,000, but I tried to pay them, $1,000 and they refused. They're allowed to do that. You have to pay the full amount within those 5 days, and then essentially it goes away. So that's basically what you can do to try to get rid of the 5-day notice. There might be a possibility that you owe rent because you are withholding rent due to, say, conditions. Say maybe there are poor conditions. There are a couple steps involved when it comes to poor conditions. So say maybe there's roaches or a pest problem or mold in the building. In order to withhold rent, you have to first, I don't have a slide on this, I wish I did. You have to first write a letter, give your landlord notice for 14 days. And that letter should outline that, all of the issues that are going on, like the mold, rodents, and any other issues that are occurring in your unit. And they should say that if you do not repair this, within 14 days, then after 14 days, I will withhold X amount of rent. So just be aware that you can't just withhold rent, via text message. You have to first give them that notice for 14 days. That's very important and outline what is wrong. There's also a limit to how much you can withhold. If your rent is, I believe if it's $1,000 or less, you can withhold up to $500. So if your rent is say $750, the most you can withhold is $500 a month. But if it's over $1,000, then you can withhold up to half. So if, say, your rent is, is $1,400, then you could withhold up to $700. You can withhold for two reasons. One is based on the reduced value of the property, as in saying that because of the presence of these conditions, the value of the property is reduced and I'm paying you less to reflect this reduction. Or two, your second option is that you can repair and deduct. So you could say, okay, if you don't fix this in 14 days, then I'm going to fix it myself. And then I'm going to, whatever I paid to repair these issues, then I'm going to reduce it from the rent. So those are your options for if you have poor conditions. Also, if you do send a letter like that and the landlord gave you still a notice for non-payment of rent after you exercised your right, that is considered retaliation. And that is also against the law. But just so you know, a little background on that. The second type of notice they might serve you is a violation notice. So basically a violation notice is they're alleging that you violated your tenancy in some way. An example might be, say, they're saying that you have pets and maybe you do have pets, then your lease says you're not allowed to have pets. So you have 10 days to cure it and to say fix it, such as say getting rid of the pets, unfortunately. But that's one example. It could be a number of things. They're required to give you 10 days notice minimum. They could give you more. They could give you 30 days to try to fix the alleged violation. So if there is an issue where, say, maybe you did do something, maybe you accidentally broke a window, you can cure it by getting a new window. Or maybe there's a noise complaint and then you can just reduce the noise. And then write a cure letter to your landlord, or if these allegations are not true, then you can also still write a cure letter to your landlord saying that these allegations are not true and that you're not doing anything wrong. And for assistance with writing a cure letter, you can visit our website at rentervention.com for help writing a letter like that. Okay, so the third reason that a landlord might terminate your tenancy is really just because they want to. So they don't have to have a reason for this. It's just a no cause termination of tenancy. In order to terminate your tenancy based on no cause, they have to provide you a minimum notice. It does not matter if you have a lease or month-to-month tenancy. It just changes the type of notice or when they can serve you the notice. So if you have a lease, they have to serve you a letter of non-renewal saying that they're not going to renew your lease. If you have month-to-month, tenancy, I apologize, my cat keeps coming over. If you have a month-to-month tenancy, and then they have to, give you so much notice that they're going to terminate the tenancy. And the same rules apply if they want to raise your rent. So if they want to raise your rent, whatever the price may be, they still have to give you the notice. And the notice and the length of the notice is dependent on how long you have lived at the property. So if you've lived at the property for less than 6 months, they're required to give you at least a 30-day notice. If you've lived at the property over 6 months, but less than 3 years, then they're required to give you a minimum 60-day notice. And if you've lived at the property for more than 3 years, then they're required to give you 120 days notice if they wish to terminate your tenancy or raise your rent. If the landlord gives you the wrong notice, which many of them do, say you might be entitled to 4 years, or you might have lived at the property for 4 years, and they only gave you a 30-day notice to either terminate your tenancy or raise your rent, then it still starts from that day just for the correct number. So let's say you lived in an apartment for 4 years under a month-to-month tenancy. The landlord gives you a 30-day notice on August 1st, then that means you have until December 31st to vacate because you are entitled to 120 days. And again, the same thing applies if they wish to raise your rent. If they say they're going to raise your rent in 30 days, you still have 120 days if you've lived at the property for over 3 years. So an eviction filing, so to file an eviction, the landlord has to serve you. So you must be served by either a sheriff. The sheriff needs to make the first attempt at serving you. Then after the sheriff may have failed, then they have to hire a special process server, or they can serve you through mail or through on publication. Very important to note, the landlord cannot serve you themselves. They're not allowed to serve you themselves also, but they can also serve anybody, any adults 13 and over. Any person who is 13 and over, they can serve at the property where you live. If you are served, that should be your first sign to call an attorney to go over your case and examine, what's going on with your case on a more personal level, because sometimes a lot of people's cases can vary case by case. So what do you expect on your first court date? In your first court date, there are 3 options you can go over. 1 is the early resolution program. 2 is you can ask for a continuance to find an attorney. And 3, you can try to get the case transferred to a jury room. All right, a little bit about the early resolution program. It's a new program that's implemented throughout all of Cook County, not just Chicago, it's all through Cook County. It's really good if you want to try to reach a settlement or negotiate with your landlord, especially if maybe you have in the past had a good relationship with your landlord, or maybe say you can pay rent because you lost your job, but now you got a new job and you're making 4 times as much as you were, so you can find a way to pay it all back. The attorney will basically give you free advice based on your own personal case, and then based on they'll examine, your case, any legal defenses you have, what your personal goals are, and then what your options are based on those factors. So they may give you recommend just brief service. They might represent you and helping you to negotiate with your landlord. They might refer you to mediation, or they might refer you to their own organization for full representation. But again, all of these services are free. They're completely pro bono. So it's definitely worth going to if to help get your case assessed, especially if you haven't been able to talk to an attorney before your first court date. A little bit, we're trying to lobby for the right to counsel in Chicago. Historically in Chicago, 80% of landlords have had attorneys, and less than 20% of tenants have had attorneys during eviction court. This creates obviously a very unfair balance, great imbalance to courts. However, now throughout Cook County, since all tenants can ask for ERP services, which is sort of like a predecessor to right to counsel. Many places such as New York City, Cleveland, and Connecticut all have right to counsel that are similar to defendants in criminal cases who also have a right to counsel. Our research shows that tenants get a way more favorable outcome in eviction court when they have an attorney. Chicago is currently exploring a right to counsel, and LCBH is taking the lead along with other housing rights, such as better conditions and rights to better notices. And we're hoping that Working Family Solidarity will also include the right to counsel in its advocacy agenda. All right, so moving on to your first court date, you can also ask for a continuance. It's good if you're already in the process of securing an attorney and just need like an extra week or 2. Also, if you don't want to negotiate with your landlord, maybe there's a lot of bad blood there, or you think the landlord would not be open to reaching a settlement with you either, or reaching a negotiation, and you just need to litigate it out or fight out in the courts, then it might be worthwhile to just ask for a continuance. Every judge varies, but most judges give about 2 weeks. You could also ask for a jury demand. In order to file for a jury demand, you must be filed before appearing in court. This is the link you can go to find the form for a jury demand. You also need to file an appearance. It allows your case to be heard in front of a jury. This is definitely a good option, especially if there are a lot of factual disputes or a lot of he said, she said type of ordeals, especially when it comes to things like bad conditions. You have a bad landlord with bad conditions who did not fix things, or there was a lot of harassment. It's probably better for that case to be heard in front of a jury, as there'd probably be a lot more like sympathetic to the cause than a judge. there is, like I said, there is a fee there, but you can waive it if you have low income. Like I said, you would need to file three things: one, an appearance; two, a fee waiver; and three, the jury demand. You'd have to file them all at the same time. And for assistance in filing these things, you can speak with Justice Corps. They're located at the lower level of the Daly Center or the Illinois Court Help. Here's their link in here. I'll also be sharing this with Leone later to email to everybody who attended. You could also call or text this number. Legal defenses. As I said, this is probably, I'm not sure I'm going to go over each and every one of these because we're limited on time, but as I said,
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You got the time.
Okay.
One thing I'll
Okay,
say, and I was going to say this a little bit later, but I might as well say it now. The panelist, the other panelist that we were hoping to have to give a brief update on a few things was our organizer, Sharon Norwood, who was in Springfield today at the Capitol testifying on behalf of the source of income bill, House Bill 2775, that was mentioned by Foluke, which we're all watching our text, right? And we're getting all these texts that it did pass the Senate Executive Committee. It's already passed the House. So she is probably in a situation where she will not be able to call in. So that gives us a couple extra minutes. So I think what you're doing now is really important. In fact, we can talk about this later, but much of what you're talking about is unfortunately or fortunately very relevant to Julia's case, Julia Peña, one of our members, and probably for other people on. So please keep going ahead.
Okay, great. So I'll talk about some of these defenses. I feel like I'm sure I probably forgot some because, again, each and every case is a unique snowflake, and some cases might have other defenses that I have not mentioned here. So I'm sure I probably forgot some, but I'm going to try my best to go over some of these in details. So the first is improper service. Like I said before, they have to serve you. So way service might be improper, could be lots of ways that I have not included here, but it could be maybe they just didn't even bother trying to serve you and you just got a phone call from their property manager that you have to show up in court, but you never got served. It could be the sheriff never attempted and they served you without actually trying to go through the sheriff first. It could be that they just left it, they just had their maintenance man leave it in your door and that was it. They never tried to personally serve you. They just like left it on your door or your porch or something. So there's lots of ways that service can be improper. So that's a possible defense there. It does not dismiss the case. It does not make the case go away. It's good. It's a good defense if you need more time, because all it will do is just prolong your case, because it makes the landlord just have to try to serve you again. And the judge basically just tells the landlord that they have to serve you the right way. So it's really just better if you need more time for something like you're waiting, say if you're waiting for rental assistance and you just need a more like an extra month or month and a half for the rental assistance to kick in so you can just pay off the landlord. It might be a good defense in a case like that, where you'll be able to get dismissed later, or maybe you just need more time to move out. So that's more where an improper service defense comes in. Another one is failure to serve notice. It's possible the judge may dismiss the case if they fail to serve notice. This could be a lot of things. Maybe they never served you any notice in the first place, or maybe you never received any notice, like the 5-day or the 10-day. It could be that maybe they gave you a notice for termination of tenancy, which means they just terminated the tenancy, but then they filed the case saying that you owed rent. So they gave you it for termination of tenancy, but they never gave you a 5-day notice saying that you owed rent. So, and now they're saying that you owe rent. So it could be the wrong notice. It could be maybe they filed too soon. That's another defense I don't have on here, but it's a possibility. So say they gave you a 30-day notice for termination of tenancy, and they filed it and you're entitled to 120 days, and they filed it after 35 days. The case could be dismissed because they did not wait long enough to file the case. They did not give you your entitled amount of time to vacate. Conditions, as I stated before, conditions, they, depending on what they are, they may help reduce the amount that you owe. They probably won't dismiss the case entirely, but they might help dismiss your money, or not dismiss your money judgment completely, but they might say reduce your money judgment by half. again, as long as you follow those steps that I had gone over a little bit before, such as 1, writing a 14-day letter to your landlord saying that you will withhold rent for these conditions, 2, actually waiting those 14 days, and 3, withholding the proper amount of rent that you said you would. Another defense could be retaliation. So again, if you say you did write them that 14-day letter and then they retaliated by, serving you with a 5-day notice that you owed rent, or maybe you called 311 to get the building inspected and they, start harassing you or start serving you a notice right after that. It's presumed to be retaliation at that point. So that's something that would also entitle you to about 2 months rent. That's essentially what the reward is for retaliation, is an additional 2 months rent. So what that would do is it would probably reduce the money judgment. If you can get the money judgment reduced to 0, then you could probably get the case dismissed. But most cases that isn't going to happen. What the judge is going to look at is how much rent you owe, and then say maybe you withheld money for conditions, then they would subtract that amount. And again, the most you can withhold is either $500 or half. So, at most it would cut it down $500 a month or maybe half. And then, say if there was retaliation, then it would subtract an additional 2 months. But at the end of the day, if you still owe your landlord even $1 after deducting that amount, even if you did everything right and did all the right steps, at the end of the day, even if you owe your landlord just $1, you can still get an eviction against you. So like I said, a lot of these things can be kind of like gambles. That's why most of the time we try to get cases settled. So we don't have to worry, because judges can, all judges are subject to human bias just as much as anybody else. So like where one judge might, kind of go more in your favor, another judge might go more in the landlord's favor. They might make different judgments based on the slightest different factors in any one case. So what I'm saying is they can be kind of unpredictable in court, and these results can be very unpredictable in court. A waiver is another defense you have. So this is let's say the landlord served you a 10-day notice to get rid of your dogs, saying that it's a violation to have them on the lease. But then after that, they kept accepting rent and they kept taking rent. Then they essentially waive that. It's basically, they say you got a dog, they serve you a notice saying that it's a violation of the lease to keep the dog, and if you're not after 10 days, if you haven't gotten rid of the dog, then we will terminate your tenancy. And then the next month they keep accepting rent, and then they accept the rent your rent the next month after that. They've essentially waived that. They've essentially acknowledged that you're allowed to keep the dog at that point. They've waived their right to evict you on that 10-day notice. Another thing, as I've just discussed before, is false facts. This is very common, especially in cases where there are bad conditions. A lot of times when tenants make complaints, say again about the rodents, or pests or mold or flooding or any conditions that are going on, there are a lot of landlords who will instead turn around and point the finger at their tenants, saying that it's their fault that these things happen, that it's their fault that there are mice, or their fault that the plumbing busted. So I said, that's a very he said, she said type of ordeal. And unfortunately, it just comes down to an issue of fact. And it really just comes down to, without hard documentation of things such as, video evidence of conditions, say, of the property before and after. And it's, if it gets really he said, she said, it just comes down to who does the court believe more. So this is essentially why, at least I would say, a jury trial would probably be a lot better than a bench courtroom. And then discrimination is another possible defense. Landlords are not allowed to discriminate based on protected classes like race, color, family status, disability. I definitely see it a lot, especially with disability or family status discriminations. are probably some of the ones I see the most, where they'll allow, say, 3 adults to move in, but say a single parent with 2 kids, they won't allow to move in, even though they have the income for it. So that would be discrimination against family status. Yeah, those are definitely cases that I've come across. I'm sure I'm missing a few defenses. I haven't named any and everything that, you know, and one could possibly imagine. But those are some of the defenses that, you know, that I've come across. All right, so what a bench trial is. So after the early resolution program, if you don't get to a jury trial, then the court's going to be transferred to a bench trial. You should really get a lawyer before you go to a bench trial, because there's a lot of different rules. Like I said, if you want to present any evidence at all, if you do not have an attorney, you have to first file an appearance in order to even present any evidence at all. And then there's certain rules to evidence that can even be submitted. And also ways to submit certain evidence into court. If the early resolution program doesn't work out, or if you're continuous, the judge will then transfer you to another judge for trial. Again, you should first ask for a jury transfer and have a jury demand trial. It's also probably take a lot longer for things to, it'll take a lot longer to be transferred to a jury room than to a bench room. A bench room will probably take like 2 weeks. A jury room will probably can sometimes take like 6 to 8 weeks. I've noticed right now, unless you're in the suburb, one of the suburban districts, then it gets transferred right away. But if you're at the Daily Center, it takes a while to get transferred. But there is no jury in a bench trial. It's just the judge making those decisions. And again, especially if you know, if you have issues of fact, say like, maybe your landlord said that they served you notice and you never received any notice, that's definitely an issue of fact that you're going to want to present. And at that point, like I said, a lot of it is he said, she said. Who does the judge believe more? The judge is going to have to make a judgment call on who they believe more as to whether the notice was served. So again, there are a lot of rules, a lot of processes, and a lot of steps beyond this point. There are many motions you can serve. Like I said, motions to quash, motions to dismiss, motions for summary judgments. There are so many things that you can also do in the process or in between their first day in court and before getting to trial. There's discovery motions, there's answers, there's counterclaims. There are lots of things you could do. I could not possibly go over all of these things in 10 minutes. All right, so after the trial, again, we're talking worst case scenario or whatever. After the trial, if the landlord wins, the judge will enter an order of possession against you. And then after about 2 or 3 weeks, then the sheriffs would come and evict you, and you probably won't know when they show up. You will also, if there is a money judgment, that's good. If there is a money judgment, so say the landlord, this case was based on non-payment of rent, there you will also be liable for court costs as well. So on top of say paying back rent and having that money judgment, then you will also have to pay however much your landlord paid to file for court costs and service fees. And again, if the eviction would go on your record and make it a lot harder to find a place, but the court costs and the money judgment also goes against your credit, and it will be a lot of the times it will be reported against your credit, especially if you had a bigger landlord. However, if you win, the judge will dismiss the case. Here are some other legal services that are available for pro bono legal services. If anything happens, where you can find an attorney or get help from an attorney. Lawyers Committee for Better Housing, that's where I am from. There's Metropolitan Tenants Organization, there's Legal Aid Chicago. Renovention is also another LCBH program. You can do carpools and Legal Aid Online. Legal Aid Online is good for if you want to do your own research. Carpools, you'll have someone you'll be able to get advice from another attorney who can just help you with your case. For representation, Lawyers Committee for Better Housing and Legal Aid Chicago, we have attorneys that can represent you on your behalf. And I think that's the end of my presentation.
Awesome. Really great stuff. And we normally end about now, a couple minutes to 7 with the panel presentation and starting questions and answers. We do have a couple of questions already that people have sent. So Oh, Sharon did make it. Can you hear me, Sharon?
I can hear you fine.
Well, well, well. Okay, so we're gonna do this, Sharon. So I was just got through telling people that it looked like you probably wouldn't make it. So we had Antoinette take a little extra time on her eviction prevention. Let's do this, Sharon. We'll let you wrap up the panel presentation. Are you okay to stay on a few minutes?
Yes, I'm fine. Actually, because it's so late, I'm staying over and the rain is horrible here in Springfield.
I
But
wonder.
I want to give everybody this update.
Awesome. Let's do this then. Hang on for a second, Sharon. I had told Julia we wanted to hear a little bit about her personal story,
Okay.
and then of facing an eviction right now, and then we'll come to you for the update on what's going down in Springfield, and then we'll have a few more questions. So our question and answer period will be a little shorter than normal, but I think we've been able to focus on the rental assistance and the evictions, then hear from a case that we're supporting and that we hope others will be able to support, and to kind of bring that reality. And then we'll hear one of the things that Working Family Solidarity and many other great groups have been working on for a long time that Foluke mentioned. We'll get an update from our organizer, Sharon Norwood, who's is going to be like one of those, evening telecasts on news, right? Coming live from Springfield, our organizer, Sharon Norwood. And that'll be in a couple minutes. First, we're going to have Julia Peña give us a few words. She's going to speak in Spanish. So we do have the interpreter function that you can go to the Spanish or English channel so that we can hear from Julia. And Julia, ¿por qué no nos dices en unos 5 a 10 minutos, 7, 8 minutos, no sé, por ahí, que la última vez que estabas con nosotros, the last time that you were with us, you talked about your work, very difficult work issues. And this time you'll be talking about some of the eviction issues you're facing. So esta vez nos vas a hablar del posible desalojo, de la presión que te está poniendo el dueño. So háblanos de cuál es tu situación, y Angélica, si tú quieres agregar algo. Angélica Rosales, caseworker with the Brighton Park Neighborhood Community and CPS, Neighborhood Council and CPS. And she might have a couple words to add, and then we'll have Sharon give us an update, and then we will we have a couple questions lined up already that I'll go ahead and read from the chat and question and answers in a minute. Okay, so let's hear from Julia, por favor.
Buenas tardes, muchas gracias por estar hoy aquí conmigo, ¿verdad? Gracias por toda la información que me han dado, ya que ahora me voy a basar a la información que ahorita, ¿verdad? Escuché. Yo tuve un problema, hace un mes comenzó este problema con el hijo del dueño de la casa. Él llegó a casa acá sin ningún documento, llegó entrando a la casa, pero él nomás tenía llaves de la entrada, es decir, del portón, pero no tenía llaves para ingresar a lo que es la casa. El primer piso vivo yo, ¿verdad? Pero el segundo y el basement estaba desocupado. Entonces, como él no tenía llaves para nada, pues como que estuvo forzando las puertas para que él entrara. Y pues uno de mis hijos estaba acá en casa y pues mi hijo se espantó mucho y pues yo también andaba de compras en la tienda. Y pues él pensábamos, ¿verdad? Que estaba metiendo a robar, porque pues ya que nada más nosotros somos los que vivíamos aquí en en la casa, ¿verdad? Entonces, él cuando yo llego, pues ya entré, yo me espanté, mi niño se espantó, o sea, nosotros venimos de un trauma de por sí, de que ya hace años, pues fuimos asaltados y pues a mí me pusieron las pistolas en la cabeza. Entonces yo de allí, pues ese día, a partir de ese día que yo tuve mi reacción volvió a lo del pasado. Entonces ya después esta persona siguió ya acosándome, que él quería que yo moviera cosas rápido porque necesitaba limpiar el apartamento, lo que es el basement, y yo había cosas que la rentera que estuvo anteriormente dejó. Entonces el porche, yo también puse unas cosas, y ese día él vino un lunes y el día martes fue que yo anduve sacando cosas con él, y estaba llueve y llueve, pues yo me mojé. Entonces ya después me dice, me quiero que también tú me limpies ese porche porque yo necesito poner veneno para las ratas y porque hay ratones. Y entonces me dice, pero lo tienes que hacer en esta semana. Entonces yo, desgraciadamente, yo a esta persona, yo no la conozco. Sé que es el hijo del dueño porque él me dijo que era el hijo del dueño, pero yo no lo conocía. O sea, entonces yo no tengo una cierta seguridad, ¿verdad? Él ya está viniendo aquí a arreglar, está limpiando, ya está haciendo muchos arreglos, pero hasta hoy en día el papá no me ha hecho saber de que es su hijo o de que ha venido con un papel mostrándome algo, pues de donde diga, mira, mi papá me cedió el derecho a yo ser la persona que se va a encargar de la casa y esto no, solo fue de palabra. Entonces cuando él me pone que yo haga muchas cosas rápido, al no verse él que yo reaccioné también porque yo estoy enferma, yo me dio hace 3 años un parálisis. Entonces yo ese día del problema que hubo, yo me sentí nuevamente que estaban atacando mi casa con mi hijo adentro y yo fuera, a mí me quiso volver para atrás nuevamente la parálisis de mi cara. Y a otro día pues yo seguí sacando cosas y con el agua y todo, yo me sentí mal. Entonces, y yo no, del tiempo que tengo aquí, voy para 4 años en este lugar, no es que se le ha quedado de ver su renta, nada. Entonces pasó, era esa semana que yo limpiara y no sé qué, entonces yo reaccioné y dije, bueno, ¿qué estás haciendo tú? Si está frío, tú no estás bien, me sentía mal. Entonces me dice él, te dije que quería que me limpiaras. Entonces yo le dije, ¿sabes de qué? Le dije, no, no lo puedo hacer. Tú dijiste que sí podías. Te dije que sí podía. Le dije, pero ahora ya me di cuenta, le dije, de que yo no estoy bien. Le dije, no, por yo tenerte a ti contento, yo me voy a seguir, le digo, enfermando más. Ok, dice. También te iba a decir algo. Le digo, dime. Te voy a hacer un contrato. Un contrato, dijo, en donde yo y también te voy a aumentar la renta. Le dije, ¿me vas a aumentar la renta? Sí, dijo, y ahora dijo, tu renta, dijo, va a ser de 1,200. 1,200, le digo. Dice, ¿cuánto pagabas? Le dijo, la verdad, le dije que paga, le digo, es otra persona, le dije, pero yo no estoy muy bien enterada que. Y ya después fue el que él me dijo que te pagaban $650 de renta. Le digo, ¿y de 650 me quieres cobrar 1,200? Dice, sí, dijo, porque yo me di cuenta que el que sacaba el dinero para pagar el mortgage, dijo, era mi papá, dijo, porque no es justo, dijo, que tú estés pagando esa cantidad, dijo, y mi papá, dijo, esté pagando tanto dinero de mortgage. Entonces, ¿qué es lo que tú quieres? ¿Que yo te pague el mortgage? Y ya me dice, bueno, dijo, si no, entonces yo le dije, mira, yo no te voy a pagar, ni te voy a firmar un contrato. Y dije, ya hazle como tú quieras. Le digo, ¿quieres llevarme a corte? Y llévame a corte. Le dije, yo voy. Entonces, al ver que yo no hice nada de eso, de repente yo estoy aquí con mi hijo. Esos días mi hijo estaba en clases en línea y de repente entra una llamada y mi niño, le digo, contesta la llamada, yo estaba haciendo de comer y me dice mi chiquillo, y yo escucho, pero yo entendí más o menos la palabra que dijeron, dice Fest. Y yo agarro y dice mi hijo, dijo, está usted equivocada. Y agarro y le digo yo, mi hijo, y cuelga. Entonces yo agarro y le digo, mi hijo, vuelve a marcar, le dije, y dame el teléfono. Y yo marco y ya contesto, ¿verdad? Y me dice la señora, ¿es Julia Peña? Le dije, sí. Dice, tuve un reporte de esto y esto más. Le digo, ¿y en dónde está? Dice, estoy aquí afuera. Le digo, ok, salgo y le abro. Le digo, pase. Ya cuando entré, pues resulta de que entró y miró cosas, que había muchas cosas, porque yo había metido cosas de allá afuera para acá adentro. Y ya la señora pues hizo muchas cosas que le dijeron que había cucarachas, que había ratones, que tenía yo gatos, que tenía yo los niños sucios, que no había comida, que los dejaba solos, muchas cosas. Y todo no, porque yo no quise firmar un contrato de 1,200. Ahora ya como que ya está más accediendo, ya venía, me tiró muchas cosas, también me sacó cosas a la basura de mis hijos, ropa, muchas cosas que cuando yo me di cuenta estaban ya en el callejón. Y como yo yonqueaba, yo tenía cosas también que tenía yo para vender, todo me lo tiró. Todo lo que yo tenía me tiró. Y lo chistoso es que tiró todo lo que valía de dinero, porque sofaces y otro basurero ahí lo dejó. Ese lo tiraron, lo rompieron, lo echaron a los botes de la basura, lo sacaron a la basura. Pero lo que servía, vino un carro y se lo llevó. Eso, todo eso sí me hizo la persona. Ahora ya dijo, hablé con la mamá y la mamá dijo que ya no iban a cobrar $1,200, que me iban a cobrar $1,000. Y que si no podía pagar los $1,000, pues que fuera buscando otro lugar. Entonces, pero ahora con lo que me acaban de decir, pues ya tengo más conocimiento de qué es lo que voy a hacer. Y pues gracias a las organizaciones, ¿verdad?, en las que me han apoyado y a las organizaciones que también yo he estado ahorita. De hecho, como estaban diciendo ahorita, ¿verdad?, que de Springfield, hoy me tocaba ir a Springfield, no fui precisamente por esta reunión que íbamos a tener. No fui personalmente a Springfield, pero sí fui a virtual, acá está mi playera, virtual sí fui. Entonces, pues andamos abogando también por otras cosas. Ahorita estamos abogando por lo de los lunches, de que se le mejoren a los niños también, a las escuelas, y también pidiendo lo de salud mental. Estamos ahorita abogando por muchas cosas. Y pues gracias a que, ¿verdad?, tenemos estos talleres, estos entrenamientos, pues vamos capacitando más para saber de nuestros derechos. Y pues muchas gracias a las personas que están aquí apoyándome. Y pues para ayudar a más personas, ¿verdad?, también que sepan de que hay organizaciones que pues nos pueden ayudar y de que pues toman los entrenamientos para saber más cómo defendernos de este tipo de personas. Eso es todo y muchas gracias.
Gracias, Julia. Muchísimas gracias y obviamente queda mucho por hacer y vamos a hablar sobre otras cosas, pero obviamente vamos a seguir apoyando y vamos a estar en contacto con abogados también. So we're going to keep working. We've been supporting Julia in a situation at work, and then also now we're going to we've been supporting in the situation in her housing, and we're going to continue. Angelica, did you want to add any last point? Please go ahead before we go to Sharon.
Well, I'm going to say it in English. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for having me. My name, like I said, my name is Angelica. I am a caseworker from BPNC and CPS. So I'm actually here advocating for not only Julia, but for people in the community who, are victims of eviction and are victims of, of disasters like this, that people that don't know their rights don't know their rights. Like my client, Julia, she came to us, that the rent was being, raised, and she didn't know her rights. So I'm here to educate and kind of like help out and let them know, like, these are numbers that you could call. This is the law. Like, nobody can just come to you and tell you I'm gonna raise the rent. There's procedures and there's steps to these situations. So what I do is advocate for them and send resources and referrals to organizations that might be able to help my client. Leone, and there's a lot of organizations here that support people like Julia, and I feel like a lot of people don't know their rights and don't know the resources that are out there. So it's our job to get together and help people and letting them know of their rights, especially right now. The rents are very high. It's very hard to look for apartments. You cannot look for an apartment from one day to another or a month. It's a process. And right now there is rental assistance and there's a lot of programs, but there is a wait list and there's a lot of paperwork that needs to be done. And it's unfair that people just come out of nowhere and it's like, you need to move out, you have such and such time. And a lot of our clients are here and don't know the rights and don't know what to do, so they get scared and then they start threatening them, saying, oh, I'm gonna call immigration. For her instance, they called DCFS on her just because she is not paying what she's being asked. So our job as advocates are here to help families, and more than anything teach them of their rights and connect them to organizations. So that's one of the reasons I'm here. And like I said, my name is Angelica, and I'm more than willing to help anybody in the community who needs any help.
Thanks a lot, Angelica, as always. And she's a really important community ally of ours. And that's how we do it. I've noticed a lot of you, and I say this at every teach-in, I mean it, a lot of you that are attending could be doing this panel yourself, maybe the whole time. I know some of you who are terrific organizers, very experienced and respected organizers. So we really appreciate you, making an effort to join us. We have a lot of community residents too from various parts of the West, Southwest, and South Side. So just really happy to have you all. So here's what we'll do here. We've gone a little longer in our panel presentation than normal, but that's okay. That's how it goes. We've had some really, really great stuff. We're going to hear from Sharon, who's in Springfield right now, get an update from her, and then we'll go to a couple. There are 2 specific questions that have come in on the questions. We'll see if anyone can answer that. But we will wrap up by 7:30 because we want to be really respectful of people's time. So we're going to hear a few minutes from Sharon. Foluke had referred to this earlier on about the source of income campaign. So now it's really, really cool that my colleague, very proud that she's an organizer with us at Working Family Solidarity. And Sharon, please give us the update. And so glad you made it.
Me too. I was scared there for a minute. Couldn't catch a cab. Thank you. And to give you guys an update on this very important bill, the source of income bill, House Bill H2775. We worked very hard for the past year and a half, almost 2 years on this bill to get it across the board. We have been working on this bill. Actually, it has been presented. This is the 4th time. And out of the 4th time in 12 years, we've never got it to the Senate floor. Today, I testified in committee, the executive committee, and we have gotten to that point. They have passed the bill out of committee to go to the floor. So that is a huge accomplishment for us to have the legislators know that we are serious about this. We will not take this discrimination any longer, no more. So the next step is it's going to go to the House again, and then it goes back to the Senate. They'll present it again, and we have the senators in line to pass the bill to make it a law that you will not be discriminated against if you have a housing choice voucher. When you call to look for an apartment or a house and you want to rent it, the landlords have to give you the same opportunity as any other applicant. We are going to make this fair, period. So I'm very proud to be a representative on this bill, very proud to have represented Working Family Solidarity, all of our people, all of our members. This is huge, because there has not been a source of income bill statewide. This would be a statewide bill. So that's throughout the state of Illinois. And we would be the 20th state to join the rest of the states that do have source of income protection. So I'm so proud. I'm just overwhelmed. It's a huge accomplishment for us. A huge accomplishment. And thank you for allowing me to represent you in this. I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's awesome, Sharon. Gosh, going back a couple of hours, several hours, hearing from Sharon, and she was saying, hey, things are getting pushed back. Who knows when they're going to hear it? It's going to go before the Senate Executive Committee at 2 p.m. And then it got pushed back. So I'm watching my phone, getting the text from Sharon and thinking, well, how is she going to testify? And I don't want to promote, come on and talk with us rather. And I thought, well, I don't want to promote her trying to get on while she's driving back and it's raining and it's night, or what if she's driving back, then she gets on. So I didn't know if I should send her a panelist invitation or not for her own safety, right? And I decided to do it thinking, you never know if it gets pushed back, because she's telling me it is, and then it's raining, and then she stays tonight, and maybe she can join us. So I sent it thinking, well, what chance is there? So it's so cool that you joined. And of course, Foluke and mine and everyone's, phones are blowing up with text. And then also, hearing from, I'm seeing here on my screen, all these emails pop out, right? So anyway, it's really, really terrific. And again, we won't continue to talk too much more about that today, but again, that's the source of income. So it's HB, House Bill 2775. And again, supporting people, many of us with non-traditional incomes. So housing vouchers, Social Security, disability, even low-income workers that can show that they piece together the money, but they don't have they're not, a doctor or an architect or whatever, and someone doesn't want to rent to them because they don't think they'll pay. So it's really, really huge. Let's go to a couple of questions that were put in the question and answers. And I don't know if any of our panelists can answer this, because sometimes people are able to tell us how to find the information, but they may not know all the details. One question from one of the attendees is, do you have to be behind in your mortgage to receive assistance? So I don't know, Foluke, if that's something that that you know something about, or do they just have to check to find out more?
Yeah, I think you just have to demonstrate that you're at a risk of foreclosure or displacement. So I'm not sure exactly if that's, you have to be 3 months behind, or I don't know exactly what that means exactly, but that's something that you can also ask at the webinar. I know they're doing information sessions, but if you do have no mortgage, you can still also apply if you're behind on your property taxes as well. So I think you have to just demonstrate that you have some kind of risk to foreclosure or being displaced from your home.
Okay, and then there was a related question to that, probably for you, Foluke, if someone else knows the answer, please. But so it says, how long do you need to have been in your property to receive mortgage assistance?
Yeah, I don't think there's any set number of years you have to be in your property for mortgage assistance. But I'm just saying this, I think you have to reside in your property, but I'm not sure. So again, I think some of the info sessions and how to webinar sessions that either is having or is having in the coming weeks will probably answer those questions. So when I know they have like a few of them in the coming weeks that, and we're hosting one as well. So if folks want to attend that, or the ones they have on their website, folks can attend the webinars to see how to apply and ask those questions. But I believe that you do have to reside in the property itself, but I'm not sure. But those are questions that you can ask through the webinar.
Yeah, Sharon, please, if you want to add to it, por favor.
So if you are a homeowner and you bought the property and all of a sudden you lost your job, you qualify, period.
Yes.
So if you, like me, I just bought my house. If I lost my job, please, no, I would qualify, okay? That you would qualify. So I'm just so overjoyed here. I'm just so, I don't know. But yeah, you would qualify. It's no set time limit. And I believe it's up to $30,000. Am I correct, Foluke? Yeah. So yeah, you would qualify. Absolutely. So don't worry about if you just been in a property for a month, 2 months, 6 months, doesn't matter. Anybody can lose their job at any time. That's, yeah. And to be truthful, talking to the housing counselors, you'd be surprised how many people get their homes and then lose their jobs and need help. So yeah, you will qualify. So don't worry about that. If you need to do it, do it. Go ahead and apply for it and let them help you, because it's $30,000 that they pay directly to the mortgage company. Okay, now this is direct pay to the mortgage company. It does not go to you. Okay.
Thanks a lot, Sharon. And this kind of has been addressed, and maybe there's not much more to add, but two things. Number one, a question came up saying, do you have to reside in your property? Do you have to live there to get mortgage assistance? And Giselle Hennings, put in the chat that you have to reside in the building. So anyway, but if I don't know if anyone has anything to add to that. Giselle seemed to be saying that you do have to reside in the home. And if you have nothing to add, that's fine. But if anyone says like, oh no,
No, you have to reside in the home.
Yeah, I believe Gazelle works for one of the audit certified counseling agencies, so they'll be also administrating those programs. So
Yeah, that's why I figured she had it right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Giselle. That was really, really helpful. Really, really helpful. So we still have a few more minutes. We'll start to wrap things up maybe around 7:25 with some thank yous and so on, and then we'll make sure we finish at 7:30 to be respectful. But one young brother, Kevin, back of the yards in the house, Kevin, is the mortgage assistance limited to U.S. citizens, or is it for any person that has lived in the U.S. for more than 10 years, or is there anything around the person's immigration status?
I believe you can apply regardless of immigration status.
So Kevin, that's what the way it appears to be. Let's try to figure that out and make sure. So if you look for, follow up with me later too, Kev, if you want, or through Esmeralda or whatever. But let's follow up, okay, and make sure that's the case. Let me see if there was anything else. I think, Kev, you also said yes. Okay, so you had asked about that. Let me see if there's anything else. That seems to be the main things. So there's one question that I'll answer instead of putting it. I was just about to try to write it up in the chat. Someone asked, will we be emailing a recording of this to everyone? So of course, this file is huge, so the exact file won't go through unless we do this a big Dropbox kind of thing. So give us a day or two. We're getting better, and we have some more resources to have more administrative help. But give us a day or two. What we'll need to do is, upload this onto our YouTube account, and then then we will put it up on our website, a link to it. And then we can also come back to this attendee list and then email that link. So it'll take us a day or two, but we can do that. So the answer is yes, but we might email you before that, maybe an update tomorrow with just a few key points that were put in the chat, like stuff you can start doing in early April. It might take us till as late as Friday, but tomorrow or Friday morning, I think April 11th for some of the mortgage and rental assistance. So we'll get out the highlights in an email to you all, and then give us a day or two and we can email out the link to the recording. Okay, and if for some reason you don't get it or goes in your spam, or after a few days, you just want to check, go to our website and you'll see a part where it'll say like resources. And if you click, a subsection will say like videos of teach-ins and so on and dialogues. And if you click on that, it'll take us a couple of days, but it'll be up there. Okay, let me see if there's any other question here. So Kevin, I don't know if you reiterated that question about a person who has lived, in this case in Chicago, for more than 10 years, regardless of legal status. I think from the answers we got from a few things I know, but from the answers we got from other people here, I think the feeling is you do not have to, no one's going to ask you for your immigration status. I'm guessing they might ask for proof of ownership of the house, the title, whatever, right? But from what we're hearing from folks here, that's not an issue, but do follow up with me. Send me an email or whatever, or have Esmeralda send me a direct message or something, and we'll continue to look at that. So we're getting a little late. And so the panelists, though, if any of the panelists, keep it to like literally 1 minute though, but if you want to have any last 2 or 3 sentences that you want to say before I thank our interpreters and thank you and some others. I don't know if you, Sharon, want to have any last thing to say before we sign off.
Congratulations, everybody. And we have more work to do. Believe me, we have a lot of work to do, but congratulations on this. This is huge for us. So I'm like I said, I can not thank everybody enough for allowing me to be the one to represent, but congratulations to all of you. Okay. And thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Awesome. I mean, I'm thinking of how well you always speak, and I heard you speak today on the audio live feed, and awesome as always. And then it was great. And yeah, and then I appreciate the thinking of everyone, the Julia Peñas out there, right, that are fighting, right, and a lot of our members who are fighting. I literally have gotten a few phone calls right now during this teaching. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to deal with this tonight, but from someone who's also been trying to get the light bills paid, the gas paid. Maria Teresa Sanchez, one of our longtime members. So yeah, we're all in this together, and it'll take a whole bunch of us. Foluke, you don't have to say anything, but Foluke, if you want to have another couple of sentences to sign off here. Anything you'd like.
So, I just want to, just thank you, Leone and Working Family Solidarity for partnering with us and kind of pushing some of the advocacy things that we're doing right now in terms of source of income, but also when it comes to making sure that folks are aware of the rental and also mortgage assistance programs going on. So thanks for your partnership.
No, it's great to work with you, Foluke, as you know, and you have a bunch of great colleagues as well. Antoinette, any final words?
Sure. Yeah, I just wanted to thank you all for having me. Again, on the law, obviously, as we can see, the law is not the end all be all protective source. We definitely have much more work to do, as Ms. Norwood said. So there's definitely a long way to go. And on top of that, I encourage everybody to also stand together and support one another and to support tenants, as the law is not always going to protect us, and there's always going to be blind spots and shortcomings. And so it's important that we all have solidarity with each other.
Awesome. And Angelica, Julia, do you have any last words, either one or both of you, before we end?
I just want to say thank you to everyone who was part of this webinar. And, Sharon, thank you so much for fighting, going to Springfield. And, we are all together in this. The attorneys, everybody, thank you so much. And, let's keep doing this, and let's keep fighting for our community and for our people. Thank you.
Yeah.
Julia, si quieres decir unas últimas palabras.
Pues también quiero darle las gracias, muchas gracias. Pues ahí estamos en la lucha. Le comentaba a Angie que también hace 8 días también estuve viendo una reportera a casa y una periodista para también lo de los biles de la gas que están llegando muy caros, y también se hizo algo, ¿verdad?, para pelear de que también pues sean más justos en los cobros, porque pues nos cobran mucho y siempre las familias de bajos recursos somos las que más la llevamos. Entonces estamos peleando también por eso. Estoy peleando. Al rato me van a correr de Estados Unidos.
No.
Muchas gracias. Dios me los bendiga.
No, I mean, eres una inspiración. You're an inspiration, and many people on the panel, everyone on the panel, and again, many of the folks. Well, I'm just thinking because I don't necessarily know every single person, but every one of the people I know, and then some of the people I've sort of know of on this call, again, are probably engaged in terrific fights for themselves and for others. So it's really great. We appreciate everyone joining us. Let's see, we're okay here. I want to thank all the panelists. I want to thank my colleague Sharon Norwood for the trip to Springfield, staying down an extra day, night in the rain, doing great work down there. Thanks a lot to Angelica Rosales for being with us, and thanks to Julia Peña, who's doing such a great fight. We're proud to be one of the supporters. Antoinette from the Lawyers Committee for Better Housing. They do great work. You guys go to their website, and find out more, and we'll be sending out some more information. Thanks for the really detailed help understanding the eviction process. Foluke Akanni, great work at Housing Action Illinois. Proud to be working with you on a lot of things. She's been organizing a lot of congressional visits virtually to push for a lot more housing relief and a lot more affordable housing. So all of you are doing great work. Finally, definitely last but not least, Somos Sur. So we are the South, the interpreting collective that gave us terrific Eva Cardenas and Chris Zaragoza We've been working together for a long time, and we really appreciate their help. It's not just help, but like they talk about at the beginning, right? It makes what we're doing accessible to more people. And this movement is about bringing more and more people together. So anytime we include more people, we have more chance of winning on everyone's behalf. So thanks so much to all of you for making time, and we will be in touch. And have yourselves a great evening, and we'll let you know about the next teaching. So good night to everyone. Muchísimas gracias a todos y que descansen. Que pasen buenas noches. Have a great evening. Thank you.